Buying tickets to sports and concerts can be complicated, but there is a better way to buy with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every type of live event. And right now, get $20 off your first purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code WINGO today.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Welcome in. Glad you're with us on this Thursday. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Here's what's trending. Lakers end the Rockets' 14-game winning streak with a 122-116 victory in Houston. Kyle Kuzma, 38 points. Lakers 11-18 on the season, third in the Pacific Division. How about this? Did you hear the story? A semi-tractor-trailer truck crashed into the pool of Portland Trailblazers guard Evan Turner. The driver's cab was submerged. He needed to be rescued by emergency responders. It happened when the truck driver lost control on a hairpin curve and wound up in the pool.
So just the cab was. Could you imagine how big your pool was if the entire 18-wheeler was in the pool?
That would be a problem.
Be a big pool. That's unreal, though.
I'm surprised that the pool was that close to a hairpin curve, quite frankly.
That is true.
I'd like to get more logistics on where all that was. And today, by the way, is not only your daughter's birthday, it is the winter solstice. The shortest day of the year.
It is. And it's the first day of winter.
Correct. That's what the winter solstice means.
Oh, is that what it means?
There you go.
So I was being redundant.
Pretty much.
Okay.
The winter solstice is an astronomical event when the Earth tilts to a position where the northern hemisphere is farthest away from the sun, causing less light to reach that part of the planet. The solstice will eventually arrive at 11:28 a.m. today.
Right, man. I heard blah, blah, blah there. So
that's exactly right. Yeah. So you just know it's the shortest day of the year.
Shortest day of the year, and maybe the longest day for me as far as I just gave Sydney permission to use my credit card.
Correct. And you'll find out in about 20 days when the bill comes due. Yeah. Okay, so it's the shortest day of the year, and maybe one of the longest tenured head coaching terms may be coming to a close. Our Adam Schefter reported on Countdown last Sunday that Marvin Lewis will be exploring other options after this season is done. Now, this came obviously out before they played in Minnesota over the weekend, where they were thoroughly trounced by the Vikings.
So when players had learned about it, like on the bus and stuff on social media, and they certainly ended up playing like they just heard their coach was leaving.
Yeah, so obviously that was something that Marvin Lewis had to address, and this is what he had to say after the game.
We're wasting time, that's all. And it affects people around you, which is unfortunate. And I understand that's what drives media. But people just throw things out. Suppose they throw things out on Monday night, then everybody has to respond. And who everybody wants to be first. They don't really care if they're accurate necessarily, but they want to be first.
Do you hope to be coaching somewhere in 2018?
Again, we'll see what happens.
Okay, couple of things to get to there. Look, you understand why Marvin Lewis has to say that.
Without question.
And we understand Marvin. I've known Marvin for a long time, and he turned around a Bengals organization that was, just so people understand, before Marvin got there,
they were awful.
The Bengals were the Browns.
Yes.
That's how bad they were. The Bengals were the Browns. They were the Bungles. They couldn't get anything right. He's gone there and turned them around. Now, they're going to miss the playoffs for a second straight year.
Right. And he did take them to a new level, though, of playoffs, unfortunately losing in the playoffs and never getting that win. But he did raise the bar there.
I think they went 5 straight years or 6 straight years at some point during Marvin's tenure. Obviously, they never got the win in the playoffs.
Right.
This is the problem. And Marvin has to say what he has to say there, and I understand that, and I respect that. But let me just say this about Adam Schefter. Before Adam became our NFL insider, he was an NFL insider for the NFL Network. And it was either 2006 or 2007. I can't remember which year it was, and I apologize. But it was when the Raiders, I think, were playing a game on Thanksgiving Day when there were 3. You know, the 2006 was the first year they had 3. And right around Thanksgiving, Adam broke the story that, hey, the Raiders are going to fire Art Shell after the season. Well, after Adam put out that report, Al Davis, the Raiders owner, put forth a letter which was just
scathing, wasn't it?
Scorched earth policy against Adam Schefter, basically calling him, a lapdog for the Denver Broncos and Mike Shannon because he worked for the Denver Post and covered the Broncos before he...
The rumor monger, right?
The rumor monger, all that kind of stuff, saying this is ridiculous.
By the way, that came out 11 years ago to today.
11 years ago today?
To the day,
wow.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm glad we're doing this now.
How about that, huh?
Okay, I mean, this letter just basically said he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's totally Broncos homer, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. I mean, just eviscerated Adam. Here's some of the letter. Adam Schefter has always been a false rumor monger with respect to the Raiders and anti-Raider bias based on his relationship with Denver and Mike Shanahan. No decisions have been made relative to the 2007 Oakland Raiders, nor will they be made for some time. Adam Schefter could not have gotten his information from a reliable source because there's only one reliable source, and he doesn't trust Adam.
So how did it all work out?
After the season, they fired Art Shell.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I get it, and I understand why you have to do that, but I'm gonna believe Adam here. I'm gonna go with Adam.
I am as well, and it's not shocking, is it? I mean, There have been times we thought Marvin Lewis was, whether it was his choice or not, the other choice is being fired, that we were surprised.
Which really isn't a choice, if you think about it.
Right. He survived.
It's someone else's choice.
He survived some of these years. I thought he was going to be gone a couple of times, but he hangs on. And there is something to be said for continuity. Just ask the Pittsburgh Steelers and the amount of coaches they had and the success they've had. And it just never got over the hump for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I know Marty Schottenheimer was one of them, but there have been other coaches that have said it. Once you get past that 10-year time with a team, sometimes if you don't start to reach a certain level, everything becomes white noise.
Right.
And then you're going to need to have a change. And Marvin's certainly been there longer, obviously, than those 10 years. Yeah. So maybe it's just time for a change on both sides.
And again, they made the playoffs 5 straight years, 2011 to 2015. They also made it in 2005 and 2009. So Marvin is an interesting case study, again, assuming that what Adam reported is correct, and for the premises of this conversation, we're going to go with that. Yeah. How do you look at Marvin's tenure as the head coach of the Bengals?
Well, again, if you're fair about it, you look and you say he raised the level of the Cincinnati Bengals because of what they were when he took them over. He got them to a level, but he couldn't get past it, right? Some good teams, some bad teams, some pretty good teams that you thought potentially could go farther than they did. But they didn't. So I think that's kind of, he's a guy that took you to a certain point, had some pretty good teams at times, but couldn't get you past that point. So at some point you give that a chance, and they certainly did. You can't say there wasn't enough of a chance going on here. But if this is coming from Marvin where he wants to make the move out, then just like a team at one point could make the decision, you know what, we need to try something else. I guess at times there are individuals. In this case, if it's Marvin Lewis's decision to say, you know what, it hasn't worked here. We need a change. Something needs to get shaken up a little bit, maybe with me as well, and I need to go somewhere else and kind of take a breath somewhere else.
Yeah, and some of those losses, I think, in the playoffs were certainly not his fault. The first one in 2005, when the Steelers came in, that was when Kimo von Oelhoffen came in and took
Carson Palmer's
knee. Yeah. By the way, on that play where Palmer went out into 2005, I think it was a wild card round. It had to be because the Steelers were playing. It was a wild card round, so they would have been the 3 seed, the Bengals, that year. He completed the longest pass play in Bengals postseason history to Chad Ochocinco. Yeah. At that point, Chad Johnson.
And then that was it.
And then that was it. Yeah. And then, of course, there was the amazing wild card game a couple of years ago in the 2015 postseason where it looked like for all the world that the Bengals were going to beat the Steelers in one of the nastiest, most physical playoff games of all time. And then Vontaze Burfict lost his mind.
Right.
And that led to the go-ahead score for the Steelers to find a way to win that one. So, Marvin's an interesting case study in the fact that he absolutely changed the culture and has changed the culture of the Cincinnati Bengals. But how many coaches go 15 years without winning a playoff game?
Yeah.
They've lost 8 straight. Their last playoff win was 1990.
You rarely get that amount of time.
Bo Jackson was the running back for the Raiders the last time they won a game.
You rarely get that amount of time, and I don't see that happening again to get that amount of time without winning a playoff game. But we'll see. We'll see what's next. If Marvin is going to be gone, where he's going to go, head coach somewhere else, back to a D coordinator somewhere, take a year off, and kind of.
By the way, nothing wrong with that.
No, plenty of guys have done it. And then jump back in. I don't know how old he is, how old Marvin Lewis is.
I think he's close to Herm's age, because they're
Herm's
contemporaries.
63?
63.
Yeah.
But really Herm is 32.
It's exactly
with his
right.
boundless energy and how much he works out. So I think they're contemporaries.
He's 59. 59 years old.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, we had thought I thought there'd be a change there a couple of times over the last 5-6 years, but, no go. Looks like it'll happen now, though.
All right, we'll see what happens going forward. Again, 2 weeks left in the season, and then it'll all come out in the wash, what happens with Marvin Lewis and the Cincinnati Bengals. We are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. So that's what's going to happen after the season. Something rather significant will happen this Sunday. And it won't determine anything, but it may determine something that hasn't happened in a long time. The Patriots will be at home at Foxborough taking on the Buffalo Bills. Mm-hmm. It was just 18 days ago in Week 13 where the Patriots went into Orchard Park and won that game against the Buffalo Bills. I think the final score was 23-6. But what most people remember for that game is not the final score or the fact that the Patriots won.
Right.
It was what happened late in the fourth quarter after Tre'Davious White intercepted a pass of Tom Brady that was intended for Rob Gronkowski, and Gronk's frustrations sort of bubbled over, and as Tre'Davious White was lying out of bounds and the play was over and he'd already been touched down, just literally did a flying elbow to the back of his head that left Tre'Davious White with a concussion, for which the Gronk got a 1-game suspension. He missed that Monday night game. Now, there was a lot of talk. We had Ryan Clark in the studio after it saying, hey, man, they want to get their hands on Gronk. They want to try him again.
Sure.
They were very upset after the fact. But keep in mind, the Bills right now, as the playoff picture sits in the AFC, are the 6th seed in the postseason.
They are. They have the same record as the Ravens, but they have a better strength of victory than the Ravens, so that would give them the tie over them.
But just so people understand, the Bills have the longest not only active playoff drought in the NFL, they have the longest active playoff drought in the 4 major professional sports, baseball, basketball, hockey, and football. So you have to make sure, if you're the Bills, as much as you were upset about what happened to Tre'Davious White, that's not what's at stake here.
Right.
That you have an actual chance. And by the way, in that game, yes, it was 23-6, I think was the final score. It
was 23-3.
23-3 was the final score. The Bills' defense actually played pretty well in that game. The offense got nothing going for them. In fact, on the first drive of the game, if I'm not mistaken, for Buffalo, they were driving down with a chance to score a touchdown. They were inside the red zone, maybe inside the 10-yard line, if I'm not mistaken. And Tyrod Taylor threw a goal line interception, and that really seemed to take the steam out of everything. Focus on the macro and not the micro here. You have a chance to do something that, look, the Patriots may not own the Bills, but they're leasing with an option to buy from Terry Pagula, how much they've dominated this team.
I get that, but it's also a person who's in a position to get hit a lot when he catches the ball. So you can still go ahead and rope him if depending on what you're trying to do legally. Right. I don't know when you say get hands on it. Are you talking about cheaping the guy? I mean, he certainly did that to one of your players. I get it. So you're talking about getting him in a pile. You're talking about, something else that you do with him. I don't know. But to your point, you're right. I mean, the main focus has to be winning. You play New England and then you finish up at Miami and you hold a tie break right now over the other team in the Ravens, who has Indy and Cincinnati, 2 real winnable games for them, but you have the tiebreaker, so you'd want to take advantage of that. Yeah, without question, that has to be the focus. But as I said, during the course of the game, it doesn't stop you from,
hot sauce, as Bart Scott once said.
Certainly. And players policing sometimes, you want it to be legal. Let me tell you, even though what he did was completely illegal, completely uncalled for and dirty, you never want to say, we're going to go get this guy, we're going to go blow his knee out. We're going to take him out. You don't want to do anything like that. But if you can get him in the course of the game and you get some retribution with a good shot on him, then you know what? Guys are going to do that, man. It's a brotherhood out there, and look what you did to one of ours. We can only do something to one of ours. You can't, especially in a rivalry as well. That's not going to float. So, but to your point, you're right. They all have to understand what's on the line here. This is game 15. We are right now in the playoffs. We have to keep that as our main focus.
And by the way, you are perfect to talk about this as you speak from experience. You knew some things about rivalry and bitter games during your days with the Eagles.
You think?
Yeah, a little bit,
yeah,
right?
Just a little bit.
Little bounty bowl.
A little bit.
With the Cowboys and
yeah.
all kinds of stuff there.
You didn't like us back then, did you, being a Cowboy fan? Did you not like me? Did you not like me when I was a player?
How do I say this politely?
Yeah.
I was worried about Reggie and Jerome and Mike Simmons, Clyde Simmons
and Mike
Pitts and Seth Joyner and Eric Allen and Andre Waters.
It's a perfect situation for you to lie. Okay.
You're right.
Could have lied.
I was concerned about you.
No,
I was concerned. Didn't you have the interception against Aikman that one day?
I certainly did.
There you go.
Certainly did.
There you go.
Yeah.
For people that don't know, was it 89 the Bounty Bowl? Was it 88 or 89 the Bounty Bowl?
I'm not sure. I remember which year it was.
I think it was 89 when you went. They went at Jesse Small was the linebacker, number 52.
Yeah. When it's Zendejas. Zendejas was the kicker for us. We cut him.
Yeah.
And then ended up being signed for the Cowboys. And there was that was He got tipped off before the
Zendejas
did. Got tipped off before that.
That was
all
rough.
Coming after him.
And then I think that was the game in Dallas. Was it the same year then they went to Philadelphia and everybody threw snowballs at Jimmy Johnson? Was it going off the field?
They threw snowballs at Santa, so Jimmy Johnson wasn't going to be safe.
That was something else.
And then we had the 11 sack game against them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that was against that arguably that was the low point for that the NFL Network did a great special on the Great Wall of Dallas, that offensive line.
Right.
It was from that 11 sack game where they finally said, "Hey, man, we got to be better. We got to be better than this."
And then they went on to win, 92 and 93 Super Bowl. Yeah. So, and we didn't. So, the whole last laugh thing worked pretty well for them.
Why? That's when you laugh when you can.
Yeah.
You laugh. Right. You take them when you can because you never know what's coming around the corner. Mm-hmm. By the way, according to 538, the Bills have a 36% chance to make the playoffs. Only a 28% chance, according to our Football Power Index. After this game against the Patriots, they then travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins. And, who knows what Jay Cutler you're going to see.
Right.
Are you going to see the one on Monday night that was just brilliant against the Patriots, or the one who was just the Waffle House guy serving them up against the Bills left and right this past weekend? So you never know.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. Well, let's talk about LaVar Ball, something that we said we're not going to do a lot of, but this is kind of interesting. LaVar Ball said yesterday he's launching a basketball league for nationally ranked players who have graduated from high school but don't want to go to college, saying his Junior Basketball Association, fully funded by his Big Baller brand, plans to pay the lowest ranked player a salary of $3,000 a month and the best player $10,000 a month. Ball is looking for 80 players to fill 10 teams that will seek to play at NBA arenas, Los Angeles, Dallas, Brooklyn, and Atlanta. Before we get to your thoughts on this, our college basketball analyst Myron Metcalf isn't really sold on LaVar's plan.
I just think structure is so important for a lot of these kids who are going to be pros 6 to 8 months from now, and their best opportunity to get that is something like an elite college can give them, that only an elite college can give them at this point. But I really want it to work. Let me say that. I want LaVar's league to work the same way I want the G League to invest and become a viable option for elite high school kids. Give these kids a way to make some money before they go to the NBA if you're not going to let them go out of high school. I am all for that. But right now, college is still the best option for all of these kids.
Okay, so this is obviously in response to the one and done rule, and we had Adam Silver on the show when we launched 4 weeks ago, talking about he's going to try and look at and maybe change the one and done rule, talking with Michelle Roberts of the NBA Players Association. So the idea is good, but is this the right structure for it?
Well, first and foremost, let's remember the one and done rule is the NBA rule. It's not an NCAA rule. It's not college. It's the NBA. So when they talk about changing it, I think the butting of the head you're going to get is the NBA would like it to be 2 years and 20 years old, and the Players Association would like to be out of high school. Hey, if you're good enough to come out of high school and play, come out and play. The issue had been when guys come out of high school and try and play and don't, then they're no eligibility to go to college, and then where do they go and what do they do? For this, first off, I don't know if this has ever been thought of before. I would imagine it has been. I think this is, Mark Cuban had talked about, this is what they want to turn the G League into, partly, because G League is international players as well.
Right.
And G League has a draft, and right now G League players, they can be high school seniors. You have to be 18 for the G League, not 19 for the NBA. So right now there are high school graduates can go to the G League. There's a draft for it, and you have to, be part of the draft. But you can go to the G League where you're paid either $19,500 or $26,000 for 6 months. Comes out to $3,200 a month or $4,300 a month, depending on what you make there. Let's look at LaVar's plan. What he wants to do: $3,000 to $10,000, right? So take the middle of that is what, $6,500, correct?
Yes.
So average $6,500 for 80 players and do it a month. So what does that come to? 680, 485, and $520,000 a month. He'd be paying the players. And I don't know how many months this league would go.
That's a lot of shoes. That's a lot of Big Baller brand shoes to sell.
So you got to do that. Then obviously coaches, training staffs, insurance, venues, the whole deal. Do I think this is where I think this is where the G League wants to go. Let me just say flat out, a lot of people, in me and saying LaVar's not coming on the show, don't think I like LaVar. I'm not a big fan of his, no doubt about it. I don't think LaVar can pull this off. I do not think LaVar can pull this off because at the end of the day, he'll get in his own way. So people may say it's a good idea that can be vetted out, but I don't think he will be able to pull this off. That's just my opinion. Hate me for it, whatever you want, don't care. That's my opinion. Now, forgetting that, and let's talk about just the idea of this. If they don't change the one and done rule to let kids go and play in a league where they are going to get paid, I'm all for players out of high school having the option. Yes. I don't think there should be a one and done. I think if they want to come out, the one of the issues is as soon as you do that, that's your life now. Okay, and if you don't make it, now you have no college eligibility. Now you're out in the world. Okay, in college, at least what you have in college is if you want to try and go to the pros, you can be evaluated. You can actually declare for the draft, for the NBA draft. You can go to workouts. And then if you don't like where you stand, you can go back to college. So you always have a place to go. So in this league, in the G League, we know as long as you're good enough to be on a roster, you can be on a roster. In this league, there's still way too many unknowns. How long can you play in it? How long can a player?
Well, none of these things have been decided.
No. That's the thing. Can you play in it for years where a kid can make some money, or do you only get that 1 year out? Do you get 2 years? So I don't. There's a lot of unknowns with it. I really think, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I believe Mark Cuban is very strong on making the G League something like this that would take and again, right now you can, as a high school senior, be drafted to the G League. And let me tell you, there's no question if you have a choice between the G League or this other league, why wouldn't you go to the G League?
Well, that's okay? The question. Okay, there seems to be two separate issues here. One, whether or not it's a good idea to do a one and done in college and the benefits you may get from that. The other side of this is, well, if this idea is a good idea, why don't we just have the NBA sort of make this the G League and sort of build it up a little more, because they have everything that we're questioning whether LaVar Ball can pull together.
I think that's what my point is. I think, according to Mark Cuban, that's the plan, is to turn this G League into something like this and make this, because now, the G League, they're affiliated with an NBA team. You have, from a coaching staff to train, it's all, by the NBA, as opposed to a league made up of its own of, okay, where are you playing, who's coaching, what are our medical staffs like, and that kind of thing, more the unknown. So I think this is where the G League wants to come into play. The idea of doing a whole separate league like this, again, for 80 players, is something that eventually grows. I don't know. But you get paid in the G League. You can get paid up to $4,300 a month in the G League. So if you're making $10,000, I know that's more. I understand if you want to give a guy $10,000 a month, that's more. Again, I don't know how many months it would be. And if you don't make it, where are you? Now, you could say the same thing about the G League. If a kid goes right out of high school to the G League and starts getting paid and doesn't make it, now he's in the same situation. It's not like he can't go to college. That eligibility is over. So it's a risk. There's no doubt about it. That's why I believe what we just heard in the soundbite, that college still gives you a place to fall. That if you can get some experience and play, and you won't get paid, you can get some experience to play, and if you think you can try and go to the NBA, if you don't think it's going to work, you can actually go back to the college and still play there and have a place, instead of having basically nothing if you don't make it that first or second year out of high school.
All right, two things here. First and foremost, do you hate the one and done?
Yeah, I think if you're good enough to come out of high school, you should be able to go out of high school.
Okay, because to me, I think to what a lot of the points you just said, I think the one and done is sort of a transition. Okay, now I don't know how you were at 17 or 18. I know I would have been nowhere near ready for the things they're talking about, being a sort of a professional, whatever, living on my own, doing all that stuff. So as much as it's an exposure to coaches and NBA scouts, the one and done rule also eases a kid from being a kid into the world of being an adult. And I think there's a lot of benefits that can go from, even though you're not really a student,
right?
You're exposed to that environment.
Right.
So I don't have a problem with the one and done for that rule. The other thing is, it just seems like everything we're talking about that LaVar Ball wants to do, the resources and the structure is already set up in place somewhere else.
Yeah.
They just need to make that better.
They could make the G League this.
Yeah.
And then where that could help with, if you come out of high school, you're still in an NBA environment to take care of that young, because 18-year-olds have gone into the NBA, right. See LeBron and others. So they become professionals and they're in that environment. Not to say it's an easy transition by any stretch of the imagination. And the other thing about college, quite honestly, you go to college and they say some guys aren't for college. Okay, if you feel you're going to be a one and done, can we be really honest here? You have to make it through one semester, not even two, because the NCAA tournament is in March.
Right.
You don't even have to basically finish that semester, to be eligible. If you go on to the second year, you would have to be eligible. It's basically that first semester, stay eligible and you're good. Because if you're one and done, if your team plays in a tournament, you're going on to the NBA anyway.
Correct.
So it's not, college isn't for everyone. And I get it. That's exactly right. But when you look at it, if you're a one and done, it's basically one semester.
Yeah, that transition sometimes from high school straight to a pro thing, unless you're LeBron James, the very rarest, or the Moses Malones,
get it.
It's difficult.
Hey, we don't hear about the bad stories a lot, do we?
There was a kid named Corleone Young who tried to come out and never went anywhere. Ronnie Fields, those kind of stories.
Yep.
I remember a great Sports Illustrated article about Tracy McGrady, who went straight from high school to the NBA and living in Toronto.
Yeah.
How to wash your clothes, how to buy groceries, all that stuff was,
a lot of quick growing up to do.
A lot of quick things that are thrown in your face there. So we'll see what happens with this going forward.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. Yeah. No doubt about it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 990. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
The Americans have voted the same word, the most annoying word, for the 9th year in a row. 9 years.
Really?
Consistency is important.
Other words that are more annoying than this word for 9 years?
According to a Marist poll that came out Monday, the word you may want to avoid using at family or friends' holiday gatherings is whatever.
Whatever.
Does that annoy you that much?
No.
Yeah, I don't see that one as being that annoying.
I can't believe another. I would love this is go at Golic and Wingo.
What is your most annoying word?
At Wingo's, at ESPN Golic. It's the most annoying word. Because the most annoying, to me, the phrase, you know what phrase I can't stand? It is what it is.
Yeah.
I hate that. But this isn't phrase. This is a word. So most annoying word. There's got to be more annoying words than whatever.
Stanzik wants to weigh in here.
What do you want? What do you got?
What's your most annoying word?
Most annoying word, most overused word in 2017. Wingo's used it twice today. Epic.
That was an epic call by you. Good job.
I don't have a problem with epic.
Yeah, that was a waste of 10 seconds of our
Good
time.
to hear from Stanzik, though. Every now and then.
Back to the glass.
We like to hear the
back
people
behind the glass.
Behind the glass, except for Cliff. We don't want to hear from him.
No, we want to hear from Cliff.
Whatever. Come on, how well played was that?
9 years in a row, though?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. You can't tell me there hasn't been. I'd like to see the. Okay.
Anti-disestablishmentarianism is an annoying word.
Fake news comes in second.
But that's not a word.
That's not a word. So if you're letting it be a phrase, and I'm saying it is what it is,
but followed by no offense, also 2 words.
Yep.
11, so these are not words.
Then literally.
That's a word.
And then you know what I mean.
That is 5 words.
Come on. on. Well, is it a word or a phrase? I'm starting to discount this entire thing. The entire thing.
Yeah. Look, I would like to know what, I mean, this obviously has some resonating with people because it's 9 years in a row, but I would like to know, what do you think the most annoying word is at Golic and Wingo?
Yeah.
Let us know, because I'm a little confused by that.
I'm going to find, and plus, if you're letting phrases come in, it is what it is. I can't stand.
No, it is what it is.
I don't like
you.
that.
I don't get that. They also have the most popular passwords from 2017. What do you think the most popular password was?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That is correct.
Yeah.
What do you think second was?
Maybe the word password?
That is correct.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
You're 2 for 2. Do you have the list in front of you?
No.
Okay, you want to guess what number 3 is? You can get 3 and 4. I will bow to you. You have the list. You jerk.
Well, number 3 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. Number 4 is QWERTY, as in a QWERTY keyboard. QUERTY.
Oh, is that what that? I looked at that. I have no clue what that is.
How do you not know what QWERTY is?
How do I know
Look
what
at
QWERTY is?
QUERTY.
Okay.
Right on any.
It's not QU. It's QW.
QW. Yeah, I messed that up completely.
You did.
I
never
right.
and I took typing class in high school.
See, now I did too, and people are like, what the hell is typing class?
I know.
Word processing, maybe all that kind of stuff. But you just put us in the blue hair age category right there.
I had no idea QWERTY. I had no clue.
I do love the fact that this made the list. The 9th most popular password? Football.
That is nice.
That's good.
Number 10 is I love you.
There you go.
I don't know what number 7 is.
Let me in.
Oh, let me.
Yeah. What did you think? Let mine?
Let mine? I'm like, what
did you thought? Like it was some sort of fancy cheese?
I am just
Can I get
idiot.
a salad with let mine
Some
on there,
let mine
please?
and on the side, please. Yeah. On the side.
I'd like a gorgonzola salad with the let mine dressing on the side.
I get that now that it was explained. QWERTY would be the one that I had zero clue about.
QWERTY.
Yeah.
I just I let me in that you
let me in.
I don't understand.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold.
It's very interesting where that went.
We're going to welcome in Stu Gatz.
Yes.
The Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz on ESPN Radio. Okay, we'll throw this out there. Was named to the Pilgrim League's All-Star lacrosse team in 1992.
Oh,
with a
big
scoring
lacrosse
average
guy, yes.
of 5.8 per game. Stu, I didn't know you were that much of a prolific scorer when you played.
It's a motto I've lived by my entire life. Set the bar really low, and there's a good chance you'll exceed expectations. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm proud that people think you're yes.
You're right, man. Every day I'm walking down the hall to do NFL Live, somebody says, "Have a good show," and I'm just trying not to be terrible, which means I can be better the next day. and it's a good. We're with you. We are simpatico there, Stu Gatz.
Stu, I'm just in seeing you now and just thinking of you at a younger age. I can't fathom that you were good enough, and I don't mean this in a mean way. It may sound this way.
Right.
I think it's sounding that way already.
Yeah. I can't fathom.
It already feels mean, Mike. I can tell you that. It already feels mean, okay?
I don't feel like you were the athlete to be a midi. Were you an attackman?
I played midi in high school, Mike, but that is solid evaluation with the limited knowledge you have of me. I played attack in college. And I was a lefty, Mike. So if you know lacrosse at all, you know I got the sweet spot on the fast breaks, and that's how a lot of attackmen scored their goals. So that's why I had so many goals. I didn't do anything. I just stood in the same place and waited for someone to throw me the ball. And when they did, I was right in front of the cage, and it was one-on-one, me and the goalie. And I would say, 30-40% of the time I would score a goal.
Hey, look, that's just smart planning on your part.
There you go.
I mean, that's just
Thank you. Yes.
That's just you thinking one step ahead, because middies are miserable. All they do is run the entire game.
Correct.
So, if they want to do that, hey, good for you. Listen, less exertion, more results. I'm with you, brother.
You know what we're doing? As attackmen, what we're doing, it's kind of like having like 3 guys just cherry picking basketball and not go back and play defense. Yeah. Like we're just waiting. The middies who are doing all the work, running up and down the field, playing offense and defense, the attack, we're just waiting under the basket for them to get us the ball. That's essentially what we do.
Essentially, it's like being completely offsides in hockey the entire time. That's essentially what being an attackman is, right?
Very true.
You can't be ahead of the puck.
Yep.
But in lacrosse, you're always ahead of the ball. You're just there waiting for them to bring you the ball. Speaking of the ball, you guys had a little bit of a fun time with Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred on the show yesterday. What did you take out of the exchanges that you guys had over whether or not he knew what the Jeter plan was going into the ownership group?
Listen, it's a tricky one, right? I mean, I'm not certain I would not have handled it the exact way that Rob Manfred handled it. But after our interview with Rob Manfred, the Miami Herald and Barry Jackson reported that whatever Rob Manfred was telling Dan and I, and that's the fact that he did not see this business plan, did not see the fact that they were going to slash payroll once they owned the team. Sources, texted into the Miami Herald saying, no, Rob Manfred absolutely knew their business model, their business plan. So just kind of left with a bad taste in their mouth because, guys, if what Rob Manfred said was true, then someone needs to explain to me how, especially in this market where they've been burned so many times, how Derek Jeter, with no experience running a baseball team or owning a baseball team, how he was approved as one of the Marlins' new owners, along with Warner, how these guys were approved without telling Commissioner Manfred their 100-day plan. This is our business model. This is what we're going to do. Because if I'm Rob Manfred, I'm saying, hey, especially in this market, this fan base has been burned so many times, 3 or 4 times now. I have to keep a close eye on whoever's going to be the new owner because I don't want the fan base to have to go through this again. You would think that Rob Manfred would do that and demand that of Derek Jeter and the new ownership group. And what he is saying is he did not. And that is shocking to me. It was shocking to Dan. And it's shocking to the people of South Florida. It really is.
I'm just trying to get to the bottom of something, Stu. There was this Derek Jeter calling it Project Wolverine. Didn't the league know that they were going to slash payroll? They may not have known, as I think they put it, the X's and O's, but did they not know? Doesn't each group have to say basically what their overall plan is? And this group's plan was, we're going to slash payroll to $85 to $90 million. Now, if you hear something like that, I mean, is that enough for baseball to hear? And I guess the second question along that would be, did any of the ownership groups that were bidding have a plan that said, oh yeah, we're going to increase payroll and pay more money out there and try and win, when it seemed like the fiscal thing to do right now is to go back before you go forward?
Yeah, and listen, all the blame doesn't go towards the new ownership group, Mike. They're clearly cleaning up a mess left by the last ownership group. And so we understand that. And so to answer your question, I don't think, according to what we're hearing and according to Rob Manfred, I don't think any of the business models from any of the ownership groups that were put in front of Rob Manfred, I don't think any of them had the Marlins increasing payroll. I think all of them had them slashing payroll because they had to. But what's bothersome about all of this, it appears that what's more important to Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball, I'm not saying it's the case, it's just the way this thing appears. It appears that getting the $1.2 billion for the Marlins was more important than what these guys were going to do once the Marlins owned the team. I think you have to keep a particular close eye when it comes to this market. That's very important. This wasn't the sale of the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Cubs or the White Sox or the Angels or a team like that who, regardless of who owns the team, they're going to spend a lot of money because they can, because they have the money to spend. This is the Marlins. This is the team and a fan base that has zero trust in Major League Baseball, zero trust in any ownership group. If you're Major League Baseball, you have to do your best to get an ownership group in here who's not going to trade the reigning MVP at the age of 27. You have to. You just have to.
Yeah, Stu Gott's with us from the Dan Lebertard Show with Stu Gotts. It comes up after we're done on Golic and Wingo. And that's the thing here that I think everybody understands is this is a lather, rinse, repeat for the Marlins, really the third time over, and really since the last rebuild, you've now traded away Miguel Cabrera and his replacement in Giancarlo Stanton. But do you guys take any hope down there to what Manfred said, which is we've seen this happen? I mean, it was in 2014 where the Astros finished 22 games under 500, and they went through this, and then lo and behold, they found a way to win the World Series again. And we've seen the model, as he alluded to in the interview with you guys, actually come out ahead again, but it's just different for you guys because you've lived through this too many times.
Right, and the Astros chose to do it that way, and they did it well. I mean, you have to hit on Jose Altuve, you have to hit on George Springer, you have to hit on Carlos Correa in order for that to work out. Listen, Trey, it's a tough one, man. It's tough for the Marlin fan base to trust. You're right, okay? What you're saying is right. Like, we probably should give them the benefit of the doubt and should give them some time, and let's see how their plan kind of plays out here. But because it's this fan base and because they've been burned so many times, they have a hard time trusting Major League Baseball, and they have a hard time trusting any ownership group, even one that, has Derek Jeter, a baseball legend, a Yankee legend, involved in their ownership group. They just have a hard time, and I don't blame them, by the way. They have a hard time trusting when you consider that Wayne Huizenga bought the team, won a World Series, sold the team. Jeffrey Loria bought the team, won a World Series, then tore that team down and now sold the team. And then they got a stadium built, and that's the big part of this. A ballpark was built in the city of Miami, and some of it on the heels of tax-paying dollars from the people down here in Miami, in Dade County. And the promise was, not in writing, but there was a promise that, hey, we're going to remain relevant and we're going to spend the necessary amount of money to keep this team good and to keep this team relevant, and that clearly is not going to be the case moving forward. So, yeah, I guess we should give them some time to see if their plan plays out. But I'm just telling you, Trey, we have a hard time trusting any ownership group down here just based on recent history.
Listen, and we can absolutely see the fans down there being mad, but just you saying, and I think that was the case, that there was no ownership group that was going to say, oh, yeah, we're going to spend even more money. Those are just two separate entities that are going to butt heads. So it's going to be up to the fans again. It's their choice whether they want to spend money and go to the ballpark or wait and see how this thing turns out. One other quick thing, because we know we want to flip the switch here a little bit. You guys have Lane Kiffin on a lot. He's a fun guest to have on. Signs the 10-year deal at FAU. They just smoke Akron in the bowl game. Which bowl game? Trey, go ahead.
That was the Cheribundi Tart Cherry Juice Boca Raton Bowl.
There
it's
you go.
Delicious, nutritious. It helps you recover from workouts.
Yes, he is a pro.
You are a pro, Trey. You are a pro, because I butchered that thing about 5 times the other day in the air.
Oh, Trey is not going to butcher that thing, let me tell you.
No, the Cheribundi Tart Cherry Juice Boca Raton Bowl? No way.
Yes,
no chance, no how.
So you have Lane. He signs a 10-year deal. We did over-under on the show yesterday. Over-under was 1.5 years that Lane Kiffin stays at FAU. I say 2 years, maybe tops, 3 tops. He's gone.
Wow. I'd go under there. I think he's going to do one more year at FAU and then he's gone. Mike, you brought up a good point the other day on the air. Unless the college football playoff gets expanded out to maybe, like 32 teams, then FAU might have a chance to get in if they run the table and everything else goes right. But Mike, you brought up a great point. Lane Kiffin's a smart guy. Lane Kiffin wants to be at the Tennessees of the world. He wants to be at the USCs of the world. I'm not saying he's not enjoying his time in Boca Raton with FAU, because he is. Clearly he is. But I would think that Lane Kiffin's going to have another big year next year. And I think one of these big universities is going to sign Lane Kiffin to be their head coach. So I would take the under on 1.5 years. What's interesting to me is I wonder if the Lane Kiffin that we're experiencing right now at FAU can and will be the same Lane Kiffin if he decides to go to, I don't know, I'm just throwing out schools here, if he decides to go to one of the Power 5 conferences, if he decides to go to a Wisconsin, to a Michigan or something like that, can Lane Kiffin still be the Lane Kiffin? But Mike, your larger point's a good one. Lane knows he can never get to the Final Four coaching at FAU. He knows he needs to get himself back to a Power 5 conference.
All right, Stugatz, we know we want to do a little switcheroo here. Because Trey is the new one on the show here. We're just finishing up our first month together on Golic and Wingo. But Stu, you want to ask Trey some questions.
I do, yeah. I want the audience to try, and I want to get to know Trey a little bit better, but not too well, Trey. Like, I don't want you expanding too much. I'm not certain I want to get to know you that well yet.
We're good there. We're good there.
Okay, we're early on in the relationship here. So I have some questions. We're trying to get to know Trey here, okay? Yep. So, Trey, first question for you. I'm reading right off my phone here. What do you enjoy doing more, Golic and Wingo or NFL Live?
Well, I have to be honest. As Mike alluded to, we've been doing this for a month.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I've done NFL Live for 15 years. It's been when the show started, it was NFL Tonight before that, and then it became NFL Live, and we started in July, actually, of 2003. Golic was on the first show ever with me on that. I guess I would have to say NFL Live is sort of in my DNA. I'm sort of transferring that to here. So if I'm being honest, I would have to say at this point, NFL Live still has a very special place in my heart.
So you're going NFL Live
for the moment. Wow. For the moment.
Stu, what are you doing for the next 3 years, Stu?
Can you get up here? I'm being honest. I mean, it's wired in. Eventually, this will be the greatest thing I've ever done.
Whatever.
At ESPN, but right now, that's my baby.
All right, we asked for honesty. Okay, all right, that's good.
Mike, I got to give him credit, because had Trey asked me that question and I'm sitting in Trey's seat and he's sitting in mine, I absolutely would have lied. I would have lied. Okay, and then if they asked me on NFL Live which one I enjoy doing more, I would have told the NFL Live people I like doing NFL Live more. So that's it. I mean, listen, he's being honest. I'm proud of you, Trey. It's a good job out of you. Are you nervous now? Like, Golic's angry. Are you nervous?
Yeah, well, I make him angry every day. My goal is just to not get beat up on every show. So,
all right, what's next?
All right. All right, Trey. Trey, you know the answer for this one. If you were to ask me, you know what my answer would be. So, But I'll ask you because we both love golf. Have you ever cheated playing golf?
In a match, no, but like around with my guys, absolutely. Foot wedge, sand wedge. You don't understand. Playing golf with Herm is the greatest thing in the world because he'll hit 37 shots on one hole, and you're just trying to figure out which ones are the ones that he's counting. So we're along the same way. We are a very less than competitive pairing when we're on the golf course. Hey, Rhodey, that wasn't a good shot. Try it again, and then we'll move on. So absolutely, the foot wedge and the hand wedge has come out.
All right, you should try cheating during a match, okay, Trey?
We'll
help your chances of winning the money. That's all
true.
I'm saying.
That's true.
And I don't need to ask Golic that question. I know he has cheated.
I can't remember.
Yeah. Most embarrassing TV moment for Trey Wingo, besides this, by the way.
All right, well, it's like, this is going to take a little while, so bear with me.
Please.
Yeah.
No, we're getting to know Trey. Take your time. We're getting to know Trey here.
One of my first times doing Sports Center here was an overnight Sports Center. The overnight Sports Center used to run at 1 o'clock on the East Coast, and it would literally rerun all day. So you had to sort of make sure everything was fixed before you put the show to bed. And sometimes the worst thing you wanted to hear was rain in California for a baseball game because you're here for a long time. So anyway, I was doing a Sports Center when John Daly was coming back and playing at the Players Championship, and he the year before he had really gotten drunk and busted up his hotel room, and it really was a bad situation. But this was a year later. He'd gone through AA and was trying to live sober. And right before he teed off, he got that medallion that AA gives you that signifies you've been clean for a certain amount of time. So I wrote this poignant lead in about what a remarkable turnaround it's been in 12 months. For John Daly, so much turmoil and all these things in his life. But right before he teed off, and I wrote he received his coin signifying 6 months of alcohol-free living. For whatever reason, it came out of my mouth. Right before he teed off, John Daly received his coin signifying 1 year of free alcohol.
Free alcohol. I just got it.
Transpose the words you didn't want to transpose. All the blood rushed out of my face.
Wow.
And as we're into the highlights, I can hear the producer say in my ear, yeah, we're going to need to fix that for the re-air.
Wow.
I thought I was done. I thought that was it. I thought it was over.
Do we think there's a coin that gives us free alcohol? That would be awesome.
Well, yeah, but that's not what they give you from AA.
Yeah, I
want to be clear about that. I transposed the two words you just did not want to transpose. That was bad. Okay. That was bad.
All right, we probably got time for one or two more, so pick out the ones you want.
All right, quick. Trey, that was bad, but it was a good story.
Thank you.
Something Golic does daily that annoys you, Trey. Something Golic does daily.
Nothing. I'm not going to say anything. I want to live.
Okay.
Good answer.
There you go.
Okay. I mean, I just show up, and that annoys Dan every single day. Something you do that annoys Golic every day.
Whatever. No, I think like you. I think just showing up sometimes gets him in a bad mood. My goal is just, music calms the savage beast. I just want to make sure Cliff plays the right music so Golic doesn't get angry.
There you go.
That's it.
Okay, good. All right, last one, Trey. Last one.
Yeah.
Song that Trey Wingo will sing every single time out loud if it comes on his radio in his car.
Well, I would have to say there's a bunch of those. You know what I mean? I guess one for sure would be really ridiculous. One Headlight by the Wallflowers.
One Headlight by the Wallflowers.
Long story short there, when Chappie was a young kid, every time that song came out, it has this really strong bass beat, and he would just march around the living room dancing to it. We thought it was hilarious. So that would be one of them.
That's actually a nice story.
Tons of those. I mean, I could come up. I'm a singer. Okay, I will sing to almost anything. So, if you're in the car with me, that may be the most annoying thing. If Golic's ever in the car with me, song comes on, I'm wailing. No question.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Well, I mean, listen, I know Cliff's the star of the show, but Cliff should have had that song ready and should have queued it up, and I wanted to hear Wingo sing some of it. But that's, what can I do?
Good call. Way to go, Cliff. Way to ruin the show.
Yeah. The Cliff is the only thing keeping the show going at this point. All right, Stu, thank you. We appreciate it, my friend.
Have a good holiday.
All right.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
ESPN Insider Extraordinaire Adam Schefter is here with us to give us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. All right, Schefty, let's start with this. The Bears are favored this weekend under John Fox against the Cleveland Browns in Chicago. The Bears have lost all 7 times they've been favored as the team going into this game. Should they be worried that Cleveland is going to take them down this weekend?
Yeah, they should be worried.
I think so, too.
I mean, Cleveland, it's not playing bad football right now. Deshaun Kaiser, despite his confidence being shot,
according to Duke Johnson,
I think he's come on and played pretty well. I think he's shown better than people thought, which is the ironic part of this whole thing is that they invest a 3rd-round pick in Cody Kessler, a 2nd-round pick in Deshaun Kaiser, and they're going to scrap those picks after a couple of years to go take another quarterback, presumably at the top of the draft. They'll have 2 picks in the top 5 or 6 picks to go where they want with certain picks. So, to me, the Browns are a dangerous team. Would you want to be facing Josh Gordon, Corey Coleman, Deshaun Kaiser, Duke Johnson, some offensive weapons right now that can give that offense some explosiveness against an offense that really hasn't done all that much so far this season? I would be concerned with that. I would not want to be that team, the only team that lost to the Cleveland Browns this year.
Well, the other thing that's weird about this, head coach Hugh Jackson is 2-0 on games on Christmas Eve. So go factor that into it. It's just a weird confluence of events.
You know, along with those and that game, you know, with your report of Marvin Lewis and going to be done at Cincinnati and the name Hugh Jackson, who was at Cincinnati, floating there, the rumors of John Fox it being the end of him in Chicago. Is that kind of where we are now? With a couple of games left, the possibility of some of the changes that are going to happen?
Listen, you get to this time of the year, nothing says holiday cheer quite like talking about the coaching carousel. Yeah. I mean, we're going to have the season end on New Year's Day, and there's going to be a rash of firings.
2018 could start off very poorly for a lot of coaches.
Either New Year's Eve or New Year's Day.
Right.
And that's going to happen. I mean, that's going to happen. We're going to get, I think, at a minimum, 8 head coaching changes.
And remember, that's all then assistant coaches, and I mean, the domino effect is
a lot of upheaval for families.
Yep. Just so people understand, when you say that, 8 head,
at least 8.
That's 25% of the league.
Right.
I don't think there's another sport where we see that dramatic of a changeover almost year after year after year, when 1/4 of the head coaches will be changed going into next season.
Well, there are a couple of factors. First of all, if you go back to the turn of the century, the league is
which century?
2000.
Okay, just want to make sure. We've had a couple turns of the century.
Yeah. We've turn of the century. The league has averaged 6.8 head coaching changes per year. And when you typically have a year or two like we've had where there have been lower than that number, and there were 6 last year, I believe,
yep,
it only means you're going to get more the following year. So, I mean, look, you could look down right now and come up in my mind with 6 teams that are no-brainers.
Well, we know one's going to have one because they've already fired their head coach.
There's 6 teams in my mind that you could just pencil in right now.
Which means there's 2 dark horses out there.
And then there's another 7 or 8 teams that I think there's a question. Mm-hmm. And of that 7 and 8, there'll be 2 or 3 more.
Right.
And there's usually a surprise, too.
Well, that's the thing. Look, and we don't want to speculate, but there's always that, like, I didn't see that coming higher.
There's always, the fire.
Rather. Yeah.
Whoa, they did what? And that happens every year. So, again, if you look at this and you say, well, there's 6 automatics, 6 very likelies, there are 7 to 8 possibilities, and then there's the one that always surprises. So, to me, you're going to get minimum of 8, maybe upwards of 10.
Are we in an era, you know, it changes all the time, of hot assistants? I know there'll be some kind of combination, but what's the hot thing now? The retreads?
Well, you know what? I'll say this. What you hear this year more than anything else is, okay, let's just say there are 6 to 10 openings. Mm-hmm. 6 to 10. Where are the assistants coming from? That's what teams have said. I say, look, there are always candidates out there. It's up to these teams to go find them. There are always good coaches available. They may not be as obvious this year as other years, but we could just rattle off the coaches right now. The guys that I think will be in play. You start New England with Josh McDaniels and Matt Patricia. You go to Minnesota and the job Pat Shurmur's done. Matt Nagy in Kansas City. Chris Richard in Seattle. Terrell Austin in Detroit. Jim Schwartz in Philly gets some consideration. John DiFilippo, their quarterback's coach. You also have to have, you're going to have the Sean McVay factor.
Yes.
Where teams are going to see a 31-year-old coach going into a franchise that was horrible last year, turning it around 1 year, making it a Super Bowl contender, which is what the Rams really are right now, and wondering why they can't go get a coach that can do the same for their franchise right now. So, again, all these factors together, it's going to be a busy year on the coaching carousel.
No, I'm glad you brought up the Rams because we brought this up earlier, and I don't think people understand enough how significant this is going to be for them, losing the kicker, Greg Zuerlein, for the rest of the season. I mean, he was on pace to set the record for the most points ever in a single season, topping David Akers of the Eagles in 2011. But not only that, this guy could make it from anywhere, Adam, anywhere.
Greg the Legatron.
Yep.
You come up with the nickname. The bottom line is he was a major weapon on one of the highest powered offensive teams in the league. Pro Bowl kicker. So he had a back injury, went for an MRI yesterday. The MRI came back, showed what they feared. Sounds like he's got a herniated disc in his back. So he goes on IR. They signed Sam Finken, the former Penn State kicker, who's been with the Chiefs. And the one thing that I think they think is that John Fossil, their special teams coach, can do for kickers what Sean McVay does for quarterbacks. That's the belief that they have in John Fossil. So I think that they're very confident in this coaching staff and that the kicker will rise to the occasion. But basically, you've got a situation here where that's a significant loss.
Yes.
A significant loss.
And again, people look at Jared Goff and Todd Gurley, but we've talked about this on NFL Live a lot. Left tackle Andrew Whitworth and Greg Zuerlein, just as important to how well this team has played offensively.
Yeah, really been an addition there. Now what a subtraction for them going forward. The one thing we always tie together, which one of the greatest duos ever of head coach and quarterback is Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. This whole thing with Tom Brady's trainer, Alex Guerrero, or guru, whatever you want to say with him, the
Sage,
TB12,
Oracle,
whatever it is, and wherever this has gone to this guy having an office at the stadium, on the charter flights, on the sidelines, working with players more than Tom, to now having that all taken away. We're just wondering what happened to make this happen, to have Belichick do this, and is it going to drive a wedge between Belichick and Brady?
My understanding is honestly that Bill's done a great job navigating the situation this year. I think there have been some issues like that he's had to deal with, and the way it's been explained to me over and over is that he's done a really good job of getting everything together. And they've been through some things this year, trading Garoppolo. I don't think that they really wanted to do that, but recognized that they had to do that. Now this issue here that's cropped up over the last few weeks and months, Seth Wickersham was the first to document this in his piece on the TB12. If you go back and read his piece, he was the first one to document this issue. And so it's there. It's something. We're going to have to find out what it means. I really don't know what it means right now, but it's something that they've dealt with this season.
I still think, the amateur guess by me is when you hear that he's now treating most of the roster and the headbutting with his philosophy and the medical staff, I just wonder if it just got too out of hand for Bill said, okay, you're done with the team. You got Tom, that's cool, but now, you've taken up too much of the team and we're going to start to separate.
Well, what has always been the mantra from the Patriots? One voice.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick, we're doing this my way. And certainly that lends credence to what you're talking about.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. Make sure to subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, and to listen every weekday morning at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app.